Hey, what's up everyone? It is Thais here. So today I want to share 3 things I wish I knew before learning how to braid natural hair. So I know braiding looks so simple when other people do it, and you go and try it and you just realize how much harder it is and how discombobulated you feel and confused. I went through that exact same process where my braids just wasn't coming out as I expected. Parting was harder than I imagined. It just looked like a straight line, especially when other people do it. But then you go and do it and you're like, oh my goodness, what is this? So I went through all of those trial and error when it comes to braiding natural hair. So if I knew these 3 things when I first started my braiding journey, it would have made my braiding journey a whole lot easier, and I would have saved so much time and frustration from going through this process. So that is why I want to share these 3 things with you so that you can save time and frustration as well. So number 1, braiding is about hand positioning, not just technique. So if you haven't mastered the proper finger coordination and you don't know what each finger roll is, then no matter how much you practice, no matter how many tutorials you watch, you will not get it down pat. So it is all about mastering the proper coordination and positioning of those fingers and hands. So that was important because at first I was actually braiding under instead of over. I didn't know what I was doing. So you know how you have under braids that lay flat? There's 2 different braids. We call them French braids. So when I first started braiding, I was doing a French braid mistakenly, and I was wondering what's going on. And I would practice, and my braid kept coming out inverted because I was doing a French braid instead of doing an actual cornrow or outer braid. So I had to learn that my finger positioning was off. That was not the correct finger positioning. So with one tweak and identifying one way to position my fingers differently allowed me to form an outward cornrow instead of an inverted French braid. So positioning is everything when it comes to braiding. It's not just about practice, because if you from the beginning know the correct finger rolls and the correct positioning, then you could actually braid or cornrow from the very start without much practice. You can actually attach it to the scalp. But if it's not the correct, no matter how much, you're not going to do that. So I wish I knew that, because that would have saved me so many hours of practice looking back, because now I know, okay, because if somebody told me, hey Thais, you have to use this specific finger and then that finger for that and then that finger for that, then from the beginning I would be going in the right direction. And that is why in my braiding course I teach my students from the very beginning how to actually identify the finger rolls and which finger does what, and how to actually position them correctly from the very beginning. And I repeat this over and over and over so that they don't have to waste so much time going through the same process I had to go through, waste so many days and weeks, and I was actually using the wrong fingers. So they don't have to do that. So I'm happy about that. So the second thing I wish I knew from the beginning when I started my braiding journey is that parting is just as important as braiding. So parting is actually what forms the style. So having clean parts is actually more important, because if you have nice precise braids but then the parts are very messy and clunky and they're all over the place, then you don't really have a hairstyle. So parting can look very simple from the beginning, or looking at it from the outside, seeing someone else do it, but then when you go and do it you realize, hey, what is this? Like, how do you actually form these lines? So I had to realize that parting is a technique that is just as important as braiding. So it's not just about learning how to cornrow and braid. It's also learning how to form clean parts, how to actually clean up parts, and how to actually position and use the head or different points of the face and head as a guide to actually form a cohesive style when it comes to braiding. And not just the technique of parting, but actually using the right tools to part to get the desired outcome that I'm looking for. So yeah, parting is a whole other thing. And again, I actually dedicate an entire section to parting in my braid course for this particular reason, because I wanted, my students to master parting before they started braiding. I didn't want them to go through the process of learning how to braid and cornrow and then going back to master parting, because it creates a seamless flow once you learn how to part first and then you learn how to braid. Then you can see the vision of your braids versus just knowing how to braid and then, okay, I know how to braid, but I don't know how to form an actual hairstyle. What is this? What am I doing? So yeah, parting is just as important as braiding when you're starting your journey. And it would have saved me so much time if I actually knew this from the beginning, because I would have went about it the correct way of learning to part first and then learning how to braid. So the third thing I wish I knew when starting my braiding journey is that you need to practice on the right type of hair from the beginning. So when I started my braiding journey, I started with a straight hair doll texture. And doll texture hair is not really hair. It's like stiff. It's fake. It's synthetic. It doesn't feel real at all. So imagine like how much harder that was and how much unnecessary strain I was going through learning how to braid on such bad quality type of hair that's not even real. Like no human has that type of hair. So if I could go back, I would start on realistic hair. Start on good quality hair. So yes, you can start on a human. A human is much more preferred. But today we have all these mannequins that comes with 100% human hair. And there are mannequins with different hair textures as well. Because back in the day, there were only mannequins with straight hair textures. Now we have mannequins with curly hair, coily afros. So start on the type of hair that you plan on braiding on when you transition to human hair. So if you have straight hair, for example, and you only plan on braiding straight hair, maybe your kids have straight hair, then it wouldn't make sense to start braiding on afro kinky coily hair, because it's two different experience braiding afro hair versus braiding a straighter hair texture or a looser wave curlier type of hair texture. So make sure that the hair texture matches the hair texture that you expect to work with, and use realistic hair. If you don't use a human and you go the mannequin route, make sure that it is 100% human hair that can be washed, that can be dyed, colored. That is how you know you are going to get the most realistic type of hair texture to practice your braid on. This is going to make this process a whole lot easier. If you are actually ready to learn how to braid and not just watch and guess, if you're ready to finally jump in and get this skill, I created a beginner course, step-by-step guide that walks you through an entire braid style. So I take you as a beginner through everything. You learn how to prep the hair for braiding properly. You learn how to form precise clean parts before you learn how to braid. There is also step-by-step drills that help to reinforce your technique and help you to subconsciously grasp all of those hand placements and techniques that is required for forming a braid. And I also help you to form a cohesive hairstyle from the beginning. So this is all something I wish I had from the beginning, because honestly, when I started my journey, I had to learn everything step by step by step over the years. Like, I first learned how to braid, and then years went by, I had to learn how to part properly, and then years went by, I had to learn how to form an actual hairstyle. So my braiding course is going to give you the full package from the beginning, where you learn everything you need as a beginner: products, tools, everything. You don't have to go through the whole guesswork and figuring it out by yourself. So I will leave the link down below where you can check out my braiding course, and you can definitely start putting your skills to use and mastering this skill. Thank you all so much for watching. Give this video a rating, subscribe for weekly natural hair and wellness videos. Bye.